Okay, welcome to our Eid of Shabbat special edition Parashat class, Parashat Haye upon what is the second generation and second family of Am Yisrael built. Our Parashat Haye famously is one which sees Abraham dispatch his loyal servant Eliezer to find a wife for his child, his beloved Yitzhak Avinu, to begin that second generation of Am Yisrael, that second tier. And we are famously very, very much aware of Abraham's plan, his instructions, standards. He told Eliezer very clearly, made him swear on this. I don't want anyone from Eretz Canaan. You got to leave here. I want you to go back to my homeland. I want you to go back to Haran. Different discussion and controversy as whether that's his birthplace or not. We won't get into that. And I want you to find me a girl, a good girl from there. Obviously, we remember that under no circumstances, he told Eliezer, even if Yitzhak, the girl, would not be willing to come back here, under no circumstances would you be allowed to bring Yitzhak over there. It's got to be, they have to settle down over here with me. No questions about it. And of course, he gave Eliezer the proper materials, the camels, gave him some final instructions, sent him off on his way. And we know that for his part, Eliezer, as the loyal servant, trained under the domain and the tutelage of Abraham Avinu, got there, got to the well, began to pray. And we are only aware of the prayers that are recorded in the text of our Torah, and that is, he asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please help me and guide me to a successful venture. I'd like to find someone from the family of my master, Abraham Avinu, and I'm going to make you a deal, God. He stipulates that I will be satisfied if I can just find a young lady who I make a simple request to. I want to drink. And she says, drink and I'll feed you camels. That's it. That's the deal. That's the girl. And of course, the story begins to unfold as we know it. However, there is a question that is clear as day and more obvious than any question that requires depth of thoughts. Abraham Avinu was ready to start the next generation of Am Yisrael. We understand why he was steering clear of Eretz Canaan. He wanted nothing to do with paganism. He wanted not to find and recruit a girl that was brought up in surroundings of idolatry and immoral ideas and lifestyles. We understand that 100%, it's clear. However, where did he send Eliezer to fetch this potential match? To his home, his homeland. Were they monotheistic? Was the brother of this future wife, Laban, not an idolater, as we know from the continuation of the story? Should we not assume that the family is not stooped in paganism, as is their surroundings? It seems very clear that Abraham is pretty much sending them to the same type of environment from which he's commanding Eliezer not to dare to recruit a wife. That is one issue, but it's very much attached to the next issue, which is Eliezer. Okay, so listen, Abraham had his plan. He knew something about the family. He was choosing, let's say, the best of the evils and doing his best. And there's Eliezer. Let's at least filter out. Let's sift. Let's find the choicest, the best. Let's try to find the rose among the thorns. And there he is praying. What's his prayer? What's his deal? Well, fine. Help me find someone from the family. How about help me find someone who is an observant woman? How about help me find someone who believes in God, the one and only God. God, if she says, have a drink, and by the way, here's for your camels. What if she's holding an idol in her back pocket? Is that okay, Eliezer? Really? I don't understand. Please tell me that he didn't bother to further elaborate on his standards. There's got to be some baseline below which he won't accept. How about a resume? Tends to lean towards monotheism. Is infatuated with the theocracy of the creator of the something about this woman's emunah, about her morality, about her belief system, about her faith. Please tell me that Eliezer didn't travel over 500 very difficult miles without asking the fundamental questions and demanding the basic standards of a woman's morality and faith and belief system and relationship to God. Please tell me that the second generation of Judaism is not based and dependent on a glass of water. Because that's all. That's all we got in this parasha. It's amazing. So as simple, straightforward, basic, blatant, and problematic that this issue seems to be, so simple is the answer. As simple is the answer. But in order to get to the answer, and that'll even bring us on maybe a little conversation about our community and our generation, let's very quickly, very easily go through some of the details along the way of Eliezer's experience as he encountered this wonderful young woman that we know as Rivka. And let's try to pick up some nuances about her character, her ways, and then after we'll answer the question. So if you're following Parashat Haye, we're in Perek Dalet, chapter 24. And it says, no sooner did he finish praying, but she arrived on the scene. Amazing. Of course, in the merit of Abraham. So what happens is, Pasuk Menhe, he goes to her, and Rivka has Kadah al Shifma on the shoulder. She carries the pitcher, the jug, Vatered ha'aina vatish'ab, and she goes down to the brook and she draws water. Vatomer eleha hashchini na. I'm going to back up a little bit. I'm sorry. I'm going to back up actually to all the way to Pasuk. I'm going back to Pasuk. Still Perek Dalet. I'm sorry, we're going back all the way to Pasuk Tet Vav. So she comes out in Pasuk Tet Vav, again, Kada al Shifma, Pasuk verse 15. And in Pasuk Tet Zayin, it says that this wonderful, good-looking girl comes. She goes down to the brook, she fills her pitcher, and she rises. Fills and rises. What does that tell us? She didn't bend over. It was immodest posture. Mm-hmm. She kneeled, she rose. Pick up that nuance. Modest, not just behavior, but physical presentation. The next Pasuk Yudzayin tells her, and pay attention to this, Eliezer. He tells her, Hakmini na me'at mayim mikadeh. Please pour me a little water from your pitcher. Looks like Eliezer starts to back off of his own condition a little bit. A little maybe lack of faith in this actual promise unfolding. Because when he made the deal with God, he said, I'm going to ask her for water, etc. And now he says, he told her, just give me a sip. He lowered the standard, lowered the bar. All right. What does she say? Does she say what he prayed to God for a woman to say? The answer is categorically no. Vatomer sheteh Adoni. She said, drink. And then she stops. She does not say, let your animals drink. Instead, what she does is go into action. Vatemaher. She rushes. Not only does she feed him, but she lowers the pitcher on her hand and she feeds him hand to mouth. Incredible service, respect for a tired man that's way older than her. Not saying there's the water or here's the pitcher even. Sit down, relax, put your head back and down the hatch, she said. Only in Pasuk Yutet, after Batechala Hashkoto, that she finishes feeding him, does she then express the second half of what he anticipated her saying. I'll also feed your camels. Now, why did this young woman wait? And the reason is obvious. Because if you tell someone that I'm going to feed you, and right afterwards, I'm going to feed your 10 incredibly thirsty camels, then he'll say, you know what? Just get to the camels. I have a quick sip. They're dying. You need to feed them. Instead, she said, relax, drink. Don't think about anything else. And after he finished completely drinking, it says, Batechal, she finished feeding him, then she brings up the camels. And she offered not just I'll feed them, but ad im kilu lashtot, until they're completely satiated. And indeed, Pasuk Kav, again, there's that word Batemahed. She's rushing. This is a new one. We didn't anticipate this. She dumps out her pitcher in the trough. Now, why did she do that? She's wasting water, isn't she? And then she starts to fill it. Batados odd, and she runs more. She's running all over the place, right? El habe'er lishob, to draw water. Now, why did she do that? Why did she dump it out of the trough? And based on commentaries, we can easily understand that disrespectful, she said, would it be for me to use the same water with which I just fed a person to go ahead and offer that water to animals. That I won't do. She dumps it out, she runs this way and that way, and then she begins to draw more water. And it says, Vatish'ab lechol gemalat. What does that mean? She feeds all the camels. Really? She feeds all the, how many camels were there? There were 10. How much does a thirsty camel drink in order to fill himself up? The answer is at least 30 gallons. 10 times 30 is 300 gallons. This is one girl, she's carrying one pitcher. 300 gallons is what she fed them. And she's not taking the escalator. She's running like an obsessed maniac all over the place until she finishes feeding 10 camels, 300 gallons. And there he is, Va'ish Mishta'ela. He's knocked off this rock. He cannot believe the sight that he is seeing right now. He is right now beholden to a vision that's not only so reminiscent of his master, as we saw in last week's Parashat, running back and forth in an obsessive way to take care of guests, deja vu. But he also got way more than he ever dreamed of and bargained for with this young woman, with the sensitivity, with the empathy, with the respect, with the motivation, with the care, with the selflessness, with the foresight, all wrapped in one young lady. And the answer to our question is so simple. Faith, belief, observance, incredibly important, incredibly important. But if you don't have too much of a choice, you can educate, you can train, you can find someone, they can grow. But there's certain elements that money just can't buy. You just can't teach, that you just can't train. And I'll get back to that in a moment. Because, you know, in our community, we have some wonderful terms that we use sometimes to describe people that I use as much anymore. They used to be very popular. For instance, one term is called Adami. Adami, you can't even really try to define that in English. You can just look at a guy and say he's Adami. Someone who's refined, someone who's respectful, someone who is embedded with values of the old days, somebody who's humble, somebody who cares more about the other than himself, somebody who's not interested in the more flamboyant, ostentatious, material pursuits in this world. Someone who's grounded, who's basic, who's simple, Adami. We have other words. We describe women. We call them shatra. They're good with their hands. They're refined. They know how to be productive. These are terms that are irreplaceable, that describe generations of people that unfortunately are far gone. Yes, we have an incredible explosion of Torah in our community, the likes that we haven't seen since well over a century ago in the old country. The most incredible beracha, we see explosions of population, families still sticking together generations after generations. A wonderful drive towards progress in our community. And yet, that quality, that substance, those traits of an older generation, we see slipping away. And tragically, maybe never to return. We don't know. We see traits that we can relate to grandfathers and great-grandfathers who knew far less than some of us did in these generations, who were far less educated, and yet embedded in them from generations of holiness from which they descended were these traits. In school, I teach the top 5 that we need to focus on and we're losing: humility, respect, modesty, contentness, and faith. It was all there. It was all in the package. We see it crumbling before our eyes, and we need to retain it. We need to uphold it. We need to teach it and preach it to this generation. So Abraham Abinu, when he made the decision, the all-critical decision, to send his servant for a wife, he said, listen, all I know is that me and my wife, we ain't doing too bad. We have to find something similar. There's something to blood and to descendancy. My best shot is to go back to that family. Maybe we'll find the Adami and the Shatra. Perhaps. Paganism, immorality, it's all around. I can't help it. Let's do our best and find the best person. If we need to educate, we need to supplement, we need to build them, then we have to. And I'm not advocating, of course, when you find a spouse for our children, not to make all the standards of religiosity and observance paramount. And Abraham didn't either, but he didn't have much of a choice. But what he insisted upon is, I want the traits that money can't buy. And what Eliezer knew under the tutelage of Abraham Abinu is that that's the deal that I want to make based on that standard. God, show me somebody with that substance. Find me someone who has the goods of a generation that I can recognize that my master came from. I know I could ask for godliness and spirituality, monotheism, and faith. It might not be as realistic, but those things may be able to come with the help of my master. But what I'm asking for can't be found anywhere else. Give me a girl who says drink, and I'll feed the animals. I'll take care of you. I'll respect you. I'll act modestly, with humility, and I'll demonstrate the great traits of old. The traits are the fabric of what great things are made of. The generation of Abraham Abinu, the Adami person, and whose descendants were lucky enough to attain those traits and bring them forward into the future of our nation. That is when the second generation of Am Yisrael is built upon. Amen.